Hello everyone. Today we have a very interesting gentleman with us. We have with us Mr. John Spence, who is the founder and managing director of Asian Capital Advisors, which is based out of Hong Kong. This is which specializes in mergers and acquisitions and analytical and digital trends, etc. Prior to this, he comes with an experience of Asia, North America, and Australia. Yeah, he is a fellow chartered accountant of the Australia and New Zealand, and also an MBA from Australia. And he's worked with in senior roles at National Australian Bank, KPMG, Colonial Mutual, Manulife, name it. And with that experience, he comes with a broad perspective. And interestingly, he was in India yesterday for an InsurTech seminar where I could meet him. And actually, he's flying back tonight. And he's been kind enough to give us that time in such a short time. We have with us John Spence. Please welcome. Thank you, John, for being here and giving me time. I'd like to have some interesting session with you and chew out your brains for the experience which you have over there, and of course you know the Indian companies also through the partners which you have worked with. So first, before we start, you come from a background where you have seen various sectors like insurance, other insurance also, and other countries, in multiple countries. So how would you like to summarize the Indian insurance sector? I don't want you to compare and say, but just generally, how would you like to summarize life, health, and general, your overall view? What have you known about it?
Well, I think we're in a very exciting stage for the Indian insurance market. It's got tremendous growth potential, way above the global averages, significant opportunities to grow over time. And we're seeing that already in the numbers for India, and the expectation is they will continue to grow at a rapid rate, 7-8% real growth, significantly over the 2% of global growth in insurance. So it's a very exciting time. We're seeing a lot of initiatives undertaken by the regulator to increase penetration into the Indian marketplace. It is and a use of technology to being applied, particularly, for example, in the crop space, where drones are being used to assess damage in crops, and the parametric use of insurance to pay out claims. So we're seeing a lot of initiative in this market, so it's a very exciting time.
Great. So John, you have been involved in various M&As, strategies. You have been studying the digital technology of various companies when you are looking at the trends, analysis, etc. of those companies before M&As, etc. Our Indian insurance industry is also fairly in that space, and there's a lot of investments also in it. And most of the companies in India have invested heavily in the technology side, and everybody's talking AI and all. So there's a belief that our customer service experience is better, claims experience is better. What is, in your opinion, your experience? Of course, you wouldn't have experienced the Indian market. How do you think has InsurTech or FinTech helped the other markets, and has it improved the customer service, claims the same way, or was it in a gradual manner? Okay, first new business or distribution, then the risk management and servicing claims. How has it been globally generally?
Well, we've just come from an InsurTech conference, and that was a very exciting day of looking at the developments happening in the Indian market in real time. And what we can say is that the Indian insurers have been making significant investments in technology, and with a focus of accelerating their business, improving their customer service, and increasing penetration across India. They'll continue to make, this is a work in progress. It's a work in progress for Indian insurers, for Chinese insurers, for all insurers, to continue to improve the service levels for their distributors as well as their customers. So we'll continue to see that. And look, InsurTech has playing an interesting role in a range of different areas, bringing new technology, whether it's facial recognition, whether it's using that facial recognition for security purposes or for health assessments, the opportunity to onboard customers at a rapid rate. We're seeing a use of InsurTech to improve the processing of claims, the identification of fraud. So we're seeing the application of technology to improve the overall value chain of the insurance business.
Great. So, John, you have been closely monitoring the insurance sector. Okay, the life, health, mainly of course on the health side you have been there. Across Asia. So obviously India is also one of those nations. In your opinion, do you feel technology penetration in India is, of course, it may be difficult as a one-on-one comparison. Okay, then I will not put it whether it's better than other country or not. It may be difficult for it also. But how do you think has it scaled up over time? Like you are seeing it for at least 2 or 3 decades. So what have you seen it in the last 5 years or last couple of years or 10 years back? How was it? Is it improving? How do you look at it?
Look, I think India's made significant strides. The Adira card, for example, is a very important issue. UBI is a very important issue that has created the infrastructure to enable insurance sales in addition to other payment services. Those initiatives done by the government are very important for a country of 1.4 billion to enable that level of infrastructure to be developed. And I think that as a result, we've seen significant increase in people having bank accounts. That's cut down on corruption in the whole system of payments here. I think that's to the benefit of Indian citizens. So there's been significant penetration. Now, in addition to that, insurance companies are trying to bring different technology to play to improve the sale of insurance and the servicing of insurance products. They are all positive issues for the Indian market.
So you see it as a big market, and
1.4 billion people is a big market. Now, even if you say, well, there's a large section of people who can't afford insurance, you still have a significant middle class of 300 million or more who are in a position to buy insurance. And, the job of insurance companies is to persuade them that insurance is an important component of their financial security, and it is. And so the trust is the key issue here, that insurance companies need to continue to work with their customer base to demonstrate the trust of the insurers in providing protection for the customer when they need it.
The penetration levels are the same across, like, of course, China is also, as of now, more or less equal or bigger, what do you think? So, the challenges in China are similar by any chance on the number of lives being insured?
I don't know the exact numbers, but China has the same challenges, slightly smaller population, as my Indian friends will remind me now, but still the same challenges, and they have gone about the process in a deliberate way of having a range of insurance companies offering insurance to their customer base. These are important initiatives because the governments of both China and India recognise the value of insurance in securing the financial security of its citizens. And so because of that, there's been an encouragement for insurance sales.
Great. We have been talking about blockchain, AI, now the Gen AI, ML for a long time. So, do you think this is making any big change, or can we change the things, or is it still, or we talk, but yes, things are happening, but is it really significant enough, or many more things are yet to come, both in India and abroad as per your knowledge and experience of what you have seen?
So, as you would have seen yesterday, I facilitated moderated a panel on Gen AI. And I think the impression I got, and we had one of the biggest banks there, one of the biggest insurance companies there, we had our friends at Google there as well. And the strong impression I had is that people are working very hard to see how Gen AI in particular might be able to be applied in a way to improve the insurance experience. It's not in place today. There are POCs happening. There is a view about where it can be applied, and POCs are sort of working around those issues right now, but it's not fully operational as yet. I think the very positive view that was presented certainly at the panel was that the Gen AI itself will, in due course, when issues such as explainability are in place about how Gen AI is actually making decisions or proposing responses, that the system will be rolled out and applied across the insurance value chain. So I actually am very positive that there'll be some fundamental changes. Already you can use Gen AI to improve your training for your agency force, for your customer service people. So it can be there as a tool already, and it's already having an impact in the way that insurers are using the information that they have to provide a better level of customer service to their customers.
Great. What do you think are the booms and banes of this thing? While now we are going to control AI, so Gen AI maybe, would you think they will be controlling us over time? And is there any risk which you see? Or is there some company abroad experiencing sort of an issue in this right now? Maybe not in insurance, it's right.
Look, we all think about the Terminator and all the rest of it, but look, I think regulators are very concerned that there's and certainly there's a big focus around a human in the loop at this point in time, and I think there will always be an opportunity for humans to intervene in regard to the suggestions or recommendations being made in AI. The opportunity to identify patterns which can't be identified without the use of technology is a very powerful tool to identify fraud in particular, to identify opportunities to match up, say, health claims with illnesses that people have and make sure that it's consistent. That sort of information is very valuable for an insurer and should improve the outcomes of claims experiences for individuals. So does it take over? I don't know about that. But there's an opportunity to use that tool to improve the way we do business.
Yes. Sorry. This got shut down. Auto shut down. Sorry for this. Normally I get somebody to handle this. Today it was just an emergency, so sorry for that. What would be observations or fears or views or opinions, whatever we call, about the cyber security part, the information security part, which you're seeing, and what are the controls? Do you think all these things are taken care of in other nations or in our country? Is it any views on this? I'm sure you may not be aware fully about the regulations, etc. But generally, what do you feel about interest rate part and that?
I think we've seen globally that we've seen strong examples where institutions have been attacked on a cyber basis. This is a real concern, and I only think it gets worse on a go-forward basis. How we protect ourselves, particularly, there's a whole discussion about whether we use quantum mechanics to move forward and how that might impact cybersecurity issues. So this is a real issue to attend to. That cyber has to be front of mind. It has to be front of mind for insurance companies because we hold a lot of data about who you are as an insurer, maybe your health, maybe your relations, the way you drive, where you are. We know a lot of data, so it's important for insurers really to attend to cyber security issues.
So that's a very good globally.
It's absolutely a worry globally.
So if we ignore the cyber risks, data security risks, the normal insurance fraud, which have been there for legends, we can say, and all of us have seen different types of frauds and ghosts appearing and clipping insurance money. Is that improved overseas, like in the markets which you have seen? Have the claims management been better, the risk management, the frauds have been, are they able to catch out the frauds before time? How is it?
I think there are certain issues that help, infrastructure that helps in fraud detection. Say for a death claim, where you've got digital registration of death claims that enable insurance companies to quickly check the authenticity of the death certificate. That's an improvement that has to be done both at a government level as well as an insurer level. So, where those developments have happened, I think there's been an improvement in terms of fraud detection. Where we look at medical, I think there's an opportunity here to identify the level of service or maybe over-servicing that a doctor is providing or a hospital is providing, and to work with their customers to say, look, this looks out of the norm, and maybe a systematic over-servicing arrangement. So I think there's an opportunity here to use the technology to identify the fraud opportunities, and each company is working through that to improve their overall claims experience.
Over-servicing is a big problem here. I'm sure it was there earlier also in other companies, other countries. Is it still a problem in other nations? Over-servicing and inflated hospital bills, etc. for health insurance? Or is it under control? Is it some regulated?
I think it's an ongoing issue that people have to attend to in any insurer, the potential for over-servicing.
But has the proportion come down?
I don't know. It's hard to work it out, right? the issue is the identification of the over-servicing, and what we're seeing with new health, particularly health management systems, is the ability to identify the patterns that were not identifiable before, and to be able to communicate with the doctors and the hospitals to say, we've identified these patterns, are these legitimate, and bit by bit to work out, to resolve the difference in the levels of services. And so in different economies you have managed care programs, so for this disease you expect this treatment, that's one way of managing it. As opposed to for this disease or illness, you have a range of different treatments. But it all depends how the medical system actually
works. It will be difficult. Like if a patient goes to hospital, I cannot give a protocol to doctor. You have to follow this because my insurance.
You could under managed care, but that creates its own issues relative to the doctors and the treatment of the customer. So it depends what treatment you want to offer as part of the policy to the customer.
Okay. Sure. Okay, I would like to ask you, maybe as a customer or an observer, any nation or any insurance company, you don't have to name the nation or the country of a company, good 3 positive servicing aspects, like it could be a faster policy issuance, smoother one, or claim settlement process, or a customer servicing one. Anywhere over the last 20 years, we have seen anywhere. I'm not talking about with technology, without technology.
Look, I think people, the first issue is the signing up of policies, that when you enter into policies, it's as efficient as possible. Now, I think there's ongoing improvements by signing up for your motor, by signing up for your other non-life policies, an ability to speed that up. There's still issues around signing up for life policies that require underwriting. That's the nature of the business. I think we're seeing improvements in the ability, like with the facial recognition, I can do an age identification of you. Maybe I have some remote measurements of your pulse and blood pressure and all the rest of it that I can apply to the underwriting. But at some certain point, a certain value of policy, I need to do an underwriting arrangement. The interesting thing is that if you agree to be tracked, I can read your health scan on your Apple Watch, then maybe I'm in a position as an insurer to offer you more insurance over time because we've got this flow of data. So I think we're going to see more of that happening, that with your data, not only do you get the benefit of perhaps a reduction in your premiums or some reward programs because you're being tracked, but actually I'll be able to make an insurance offer to you and that will improve over time. So look, there's a range of experiences in onboarding. Clearly, if I'm making a claim, I want to be paid out.
Absolutely.
I want to be paid out fast. It's traumatic as it is that I'm making a claim, whether it's a motor accident or whether it's a house or whether it's a burglar in a house or there's fire or flood. There's already a traumatic effect, but as quickly as I can, I want to be paid out. And companies are seeking to improve their claims experience as part of that process.
In fact, John, I have a very basic question now. While one expects the motor insurance policy to be issued in a couple of minutes, which is happening, I think, globally, even in India, maybe a health policy not requiring bigger underwriting, maybe a few minutes. Life insurance is complex, again, with underwriting, without underwriting, both are there. But my question to you is, do we really need to issue a policy in 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Do we really need to issue a claim in 5 minutes or 7 minutes? Or can we prolong it to a day? I'm not saying take months, which has been happening maybe a few decades back. So, would a customer be impacted by 7 minutes or 20 minutes? I don't want to compare it with an Amazon product. Okay, I'm buying it, so I'm buying a watch or a television and I want it at the same pace. So, even if I go to a shop to buy, let's say, a laptop or a mobile phone, I'm sure all of us take more than 30 minutes to check so many things and then we decide. Why do we take more time? Whereas when we go to a grocery shop, we pick up
the pulses in seconds or minutes. So that means as the value chain goes up or the expectation of the product changes, increases, we are spending time as customers. So we want to spend time to evaluate. So similarly, insurer also has to evaluate, right? So is it really necessary that he should issue a policy in 1 minute, 2 minutes? Is it required? And if we do so, we may probably garner some popularity and maybe some social media applause, but I do not know whether it will be sustainable in the long run. Any view on this piece?
I think we're seeing an increase in our population of digital natives.
Yeah.
And I think if insurers aren't thinking about the change of behaviour associated with digital natives, then they're making a big error. That they need to recognise there's a new service standard, that there's an important component and a growing component of our population that is very happy with instant service. And insurers, being sensitive to their customers, should be working to deliver that level of service where it can. So you talk about waiting for claims, say on a medical. The reality is it should be cashless already.
Absolutely.
Why are we making a claim?
Absolutely.
It should be built in and delivered. The medical service delivered, the reimbursement of that or the payment of that should be done. It should be cashless transaction. So we need to change the way we think about that transaction.
No, I was talking about life claim.
Yes.
Not the motor claim or the health claim.
Yes. So on a life, look, death is complicated. And insurer, and there's typically a large sum assured involved, relatively large sum assured. So we have to wait until death certificates are issued and appropriate processes are worked out. So there, it's a difference. But on the non-life and the health side, we should expect rapid dealing with our claims. If it's a legitimate, if it's within the policy benefits, it should be provided.
I'm a fan of a single point underwriting. Okay. Somehow I love doing this thing that for me, underwriting is not about a policy. I don't underwrite a policy. I underwrite a human being or a person, right? Suppose if John comes to me, I look at John saying, okay, John needs this much health insurance, this much life insurance, he's got a car, so this is a car insurance, and if he's got a laptop, if he's got a house insurance. So ideally, it's the same John who has to pay the premium, his premium paying capability is the same person. So his credit worthiness is the same. His property mapped to him is according to his net worth. Okay. So I can underwrite John at one point, and ideally I can go further and say that you should get a loan also at this point of time. So that is dream come true if that happens. So do you think it's an ideal way to look at, or is it happening somewhere, or somebody is working on it, whatever? But isn't it the right way to look at it as a goal, saying that, okay, why do we underwrite a person 100 times? We can underwrite him once, of course. It changes, only the gaps can be underwritten.
So, look, I think for a segment, for a particular experience of a customer who might be coming to you for broader financial advice, that might be a great opportunity. But let's think about the stages that people go through in their lives. So at one stage they're buying a car. They're not interested. They may not be interested in any other life insurance. They want to buy a car. They want to buy car insurance with the car. They're required to buy car insurance with the car. Then maybe they want to move on to something else and buy a home, and they need home insurance, and maybe they need the life insurance on the mortgage that's being provided for them. But these are different steps, different processes. Now, at some point, they come to you and say, please, I'd like you to assess my total financial holdings. Okay. But I think in the end, that's actually a smaller percentage of the population that's going to open themselves up to that, maybe. But we need to be dealing with people on an ongoing basis as they look at the opportunities for themselves, and at each step evaluate their underwriting issues at that point in time. Now, is there a way to reuse the data? Of course there's a way to reuse the data. Is there an opportunity to allow with permission to connect with the way they drive and where they live and use that data for the purpose of underwriting an insurance product? Yes, if they give permission. So there's some opportunities there. Would it be core? I mean, one of the things you just have to also think about here is the different requirements and that we've seen ongoingly and may change in time. But if we have a bank with its own legislation under national legislation, or an insurer with its own legislations and regulation, each of these are different. A credit card might be having a different profile. So each of these have to meet the own criteria that the legislation provides and the regulations. Sometimes that's different and is a bit challenging.
True. When you underwrite a risk, you may not necessarily issue it without its need. If it doesn't want home insurance or a life insurance, they may not buy. But I have seen you, I know you, this is the eligibility. So tomorrow when you come, I already underwritten you. I say, okay, it's fully ready for you. Right? That's what I mean. So, when you gave me one document, I was just already assessed 4 things for you. You may choose one. I may not want to force you. It's a fair way. But second time when you come, I don't have to really say, okay, please give me everything again. I say, I know you.
I wish that was the case. I think my understanding of current processes is you have to deliver that again and update people. It's not the way at the moment it's been done. Now, maybe if you're, as I said, if you're providing, as a customer providing access for ongoing monitoring, then maybe that's an opportunity for the future. But I've just moved some money around the world, and for each bank, and it's the same bank group. Each country I've moved to, I've had to give identification for that country and make that process work for that country, and couldn't do it on a global basis. So there's lots of challenges, but it's a good explanation.
Yes, but within the same country, suppose if in India there are 30, 28, 29, 30 states, and every state has got one branch, do you expect to under the same process and say, I'm in a pretty same country?
That's what legislation is. But I think it's a nice aspiration, whether it can actually come together on an ongoing basis. Look, and also you need to maintain and be up to date about what's happening to the individual's life. Right? Things can be changing dramatically in a person's life, and so it's the point of underwriting a person at the time that they're taking out that risk.
That's it. The incremental underwriting will be required at any point.
Yes.
So how do you see the Indian insurance sector, say by 2027 or 2030?
Well, my view, the story here is positive about the growth of the sector, that it will continue to grow. I think, we're anticipating as a foreigner, I'm certainly anticipating the changes in the FDI rules, but technology being applied to the industry, I think the industry's in a very exciting stage. No more. You've got to think about this. This insurance is the most exciting time in history for insurance. To be able to deliver insurance on a range of different bases, whether it's for your life or whether it's for your non-life business, or you do it on a parametric basis. There's a very exciting time for insurance. And the good thing about the Indian insurance market, it's full of very bright people who will make these things happen and increase the penetration rates in the Indian market.
It's like that's the purpose of this book. We are trying to get those bright people out and say, can we do the best out of it? Because the purpose of this book is mainly not about today. It's about tomorrow. As you just, the earlier question you said aspiration. Only if we aspire, we can reach there.
Exactly.
Right. So, in fact, one last question. You may be aware that our regulator, IRDA, has set out a vision, Vision 2047, it says that we want the entire nation to be insured by 2047. So, obviously, that's a statement, that's a goal and objective. So, how do you think that can be achieved? If you were to say, okay, fine, 2047 is another 23 years away, but if you have to plan these 23 years to get 100%, every insurer or the government also, if you were to give an advice to the government, we've been an advisor to each insurer or to the government, unbiased, what would you say? How do we reach there?
So first of all, it's a great aspiration. Like it's very clear and it's very simple. And I think in multiple conversations, I've heard this vision this aspiration being stated. So from that angle, I think it's doing its job of how we work together to make sure we secure the future of Indian citizens. I think that's a fantastic aspiration. Now, there's some practical issues. So, look, there's certain parts of the population that will find it very difficult to take out insurance. India still suffers from, while declining, but still suffers from a level of poverty. And there are certain classes of people who won't be able to afford insurance. That's where the state needs to step in and provide protection or secure social security levels if we are to insure those people. So there's a challenge at the bottom end of the economic scale that we need to protect. And it's unlikely for me to understand how they will acquire insurance. And so that's one issue. But for the middle class, they should be thinking about as their wealth increases, and we're seeing that in the Indian market. We're seeing the acceleration of wealth in India. And so as wealth accelerates, we've seen as part of the historical development of many markets, we see the increase in insurance coverage. So I'd expect that to continue to happen. But we need to offer insurance that can be used. I think that we had our conference this week. One of the key things was how we use insurance. There has to have a claims experience. To have insurance now, this is typically non-life claims experience. Maybe some of the life issues as well, but the health experiences and motor vehicles. And so for insurers to develop the trust which is required to increase the sale of insurance, they need to deliver a solid claims experience so that people feel that they can trust insurance to be an important part of their overall financial portfolio. Because insurance plays a very important part. It means that I don't have to allocate savings in such a way, perhaps in a protective way, the pool of money just in case I get ill, pool of money just in case I have an accident, that they can use insurance and then deploy their pool of money for other purchases, investments that they want to actually make. So it's an important social security issue to have insurance. And insurers need to be working about how they can demonstrate that trust on an ongoing basis. So we see an ongoing increasing penetration of insurance in the Indian community.
Great. Thanks a lot, John. I think great amount of input and absolute frank input value adds. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.